So we were talking about the speaking. So there are certain criteria which you need to follow. If you have a prayer in the IELTS exam, make sure that your body is restricted. Don't try to use. Make an eye contact. By making the eye contact, you will communicate with the examiner that you have enough confidence in giving the answer, the most definite answer. Try to give the crispy answer, the answer which you will love to give, and the examiner will admire the answers you will be giving. And make sure the length of the answers will be more than 40 seconds in order to decrease the number of questions. The more short answers you will be giving, the more chances that the number of question increases in your IELTS speaking exam. So how it's going to start? You are going to enter into the room. You are going to sit down. She is going to ask you about the document by which you have registered in your IELTS exam. Then you are going to show your identity card. You may be registered with the help of NIC, or maybe you have registered with the help of your passport. One second. So please turn off your mics. Okay. So there are two ways. You just uh, give or just give or hand over the NIC or the passport to the examiner, but by just saying, here is my passport and I have registered with the help of my passport in the IELTS exam. It only takes 2 to 3 seconds, but you are going to create an impression. Okay. Now she's going to ask you, what is your name? Now you are going to give your name. Hi, my full name is Sayyida Aksa, and you can call me by my native name Aksa, or you can call me by my first name Aksa. Okay, so now this is going to break the ice, the silence in the room. Okay, then she is going to start. Once she is going to start the part one, then your evaluation is going to start. No matter how you have introduced yourself, from the very first part of the part one, your evaluation is going to start, and the evaluation in the speaking test is based on the fluency of the English you have used, the grammar you have used, the tenses you have used. The more phrasal verbs you use, the more idioms and the more vocabulary you are going to use, it's going to create more impression and going to uplift the marks. For example, we are not going to use the elementary school English. For example, if we are going to describe a museum or a building or a monument, we are not going to say the building was very old. We will replace the word very old with ancient. The building was ancient. The building was archaic. The building was archaic. If we are going to say the building was very beautiful, so try to replace this very beautiful with captivated, or try to replace with exquisite, or try to use elegant. There are other varieties of vocabulary, so we need to make a command on the vocabularies we have. So the more vocabularies you are going to use in your IELTS speaking exam, the more chances that your band is going to be uplifted. Phrasal verb has its own importance in the IELTS exam. For example, you are saying, I have just the teacher told me about the exam criteria, and I quickly write down. Use a phrasal verb to replace this write down. Say, I jot down. I jot down. It's a phrasal verb and it's going to beautify your English. So try to beautify your English. There are many tips and tricks. There are many fold epitomes of tips and tricks which help you to uplift your band. In the first part of IELTS, which is known as a journal part, it's about the introduction of yourself. So the examiner is going to ask you the questions which is related to your country, your hometown, the weather, the environment of your hometown or your country, the mode of transportations you often use for your daily life, in your daily life, the leisure facilities or leisure activities available in your city, or the how you spend your spare time, what are your hobbies, the movies you like to watch. So this is more journal. Food, travel, or hobbies, family, friends, colleagues, job. It's all thing related to yourself. So she's going to ask you such questions. And the total number of questions are 4 to 5 questions, which she is going to ask you in the part one. And it's totally depend upon the length of the answers you are giving. If you're giving one line answer, the length of the number of the question will increase. So try to give an answer of more complex sentence and a more complex sentence, and that may exceed the length of 40 seconds. But please don't fumble, don't stutter, or don't hustle. If you think you are going to stutter or you are going to mumble or murmur, so take a pause of 2 seconds, relax yourself, calm yourself, and then give the answer. But make sure this 2 second silence is not going to be converted into dead air. If there is a dead air, if अगर सन्नाटा है कमरे में, so that's going to create a problem. Now the part two is known as a cue card or a prompt card part, which comes with a monologue. She is particularly going to give you a topic. A topic is going to be appear in this part, and she is going to hand over you a blank sheet, a blank paper along with a pencil, and she wants you to follow the monologue, the 3 or 4 points which are mentioned below in the cue card. You need to cover these points and then tell a story. Tell a story. Now there are certain scenarios where the topic is not familiar topic. You have not experienced such thing in your life, but now you have received a cue card and you need to give an answer. So what you are going to do, you are not supposed to tell the examiner that I have not experienced such thing, so I'm sorry, can you give me another topic? No, this is not going to be acceptable. You need to create a fake story, or you need to over exaggerate. लंबा चौड़ा खींचना है, कहानी बनानी है, but you need to give the answer. So she will give you 1 minute. With the help of a stopwatch, she is going to calculate the time. You need to prepare yourself and give the answer. When you are preparing to give the answer of the cue card, make sure that you are writing the answer into the key points. You are making the key points. Don't write a script. If you are going to write a script for the cue card, you will create a mess. Okay, then you will again look down by giving the answer what I have written. I need to follow this. No, just write the key point which you are going to mention in your story. Okay, then after the cue card is known as a long term part, and after the cue card there is part 3. Part 3 is known as a discussion part, and it's a most complex part of the speaking. In the part 3, the answers you have given in the cue card, she is going to discuss certain question regarding those points which you have mentioned in the cue card. The question in the part 3 will be related to the cue card. For example, you have received a cue card. The last present you have received, who was the person gave you the present? How did you feel? What was the event when he gave you or she gave you such present? So now she is going to ask the question about the presents in the part 3. Do you think children admire present more than adults? Do you think people like shop bought present rather than homemade present? Do you think people admire present in past more than present? Do you think people like branded stuffs to be gifted in present? Such type of question. And now you need to give the answer, the relevant and well defined or crispy answers which are good to listen. Okay, now try to use different vocabularies. If you have said I was happy to receive the gift, when I opened the gift I was happy. No, don't repeat this happy. If you have said one time happy, now replace this happy with, try to use idioms. When I opened the gift, I was over the moon. I was on cloud 90. So this is going to beautify and this is going to uplift your band. So there are certain tips to uplift your bands. Now, IELTS listening module. IELTS listening module is same for the general IELTS and academic IELTS. All you will have 40 minutes for the paper base and 32 minutes for the computer base. It comprises of 4 sections, and each section will be having 10 questions. So section 1 and section 2 is called non-academic section, which is a social section in which you will hear a conversation which is a daily life based conversation. Then the section 3 and section 4 is known as an academic conversation, academic section, non-social section, in which you will hear something which is related to research, literature. It's more like an academic content. Section 1, you may hear only 2 speakers. There are 2 speakers and they are having a social conversation, a daily life conversation. For example, a lady has called the police station to report a theft. She has lost her belongings and now she is complaining. So the policeman is going to ask about her name, first name, last name, and he's going to ask about the address. He's going to ask about the driving license number, telephone number, and so on. And you need to write down as per the criteria of the questions is going to be asked in the exam. Then section 2, you may hear only 1 speaker. There will be only 1 speaker. It's also social conversation. For example, there is a radio jockey who is just conducting his show on a radio station, and he is discussing about the features of a movie, the plot of the movie. The movie has very intricate plot. The characteristics were very manipulated. So he's going to describe such film. Maybe he's going to describe about the celebrity. So there are certain criteria. For example, a tourist guide is giving the description about any ancient building, about a museum monument. So there are some types of question related to the section 2. Now, section 3, you will have 3 to 4 speaker, maybe 3 to 4 speaker at a time, 2 speaker, 3 speaker. The number of speaker may be differ. So all may have different types of accent. Okay, some may have Irish, some may have Canadian, some may have American, some may have British. Now we all have a question. Is there such difference between the American pronunciation and the British pronunciation, or the Canadian pronunciation, or the Irish pronunciation? There is a vast difference between the accent of different types of native. There is a vast difference between the American pronunciation and the British pronunciation. For example, we say mandatory. Mandatory is an American pronunciation. The British pronunciation is mandatory. Privacy, turmeric. So there are differences. Schedule. So you need to have a command on the accent and on the pronunciation to try to improve your pronunciation. Don't say alternative, it's alternative. It's not integrity, it's integrity. It's not, what can I say? Respiratory. So there are different types of pronunciation. So you need to get a command. Okay, so now section 4. Section 4, you will be having only a 1 speaker, but now section 4 is more complex. The speed may be now more fast, and you need to write down the answer. So you will get the answer with the help of the key points or with the help of the keywords. So there are certain tips and tricks. Okay, for the IELTS listening question, there are variety of question which will be appear in the IELTS exam. Then first will be MCQs, multiple choice question. Map completion, you will be having a map. It's mostly appear in the section 2. A map will be there and you need to write down where such building is situated, where such apartment is situated. Diagram completion or labeling. Form completion, there will be a form. It's going to appear in the section 1. For example, a lady called a police station, and now she is complaining about the theft, and he's going to file a form. He's going to write down the information. It's more like a form completion or a note completion. Then flowchart completion, sentence completion, summary completion, short answers question, table completion, and there are so on. Now, there are some common traps in the listening test. They know that you are not native, so they are trying to trap you. There will be answers which are the repeated answer. In the MCQ section, you will hear all those A, B, C, D in the conversation, but there will be only a one point where the speaker is emphasizing, and you need to recognize where he is emphasizing, where he is highlighting or stressing, and you need to write down the answer. Then there are some similar words rather than the paraphrasing, and you will confuse. For example, if you have heard that the effect of paracetamol is mild, and then you get a question, the effect of the paracetamol is severe, and now they're asking you to give the answer in true or false. So we know that mild means less effective and severe means prominent or more effective. So this is an antonym has been given. So you need to have a command on the synonyms and the antonyms. Then listen for plural. Make sure that you listen for the plural. If the speaker has said a bunch of grapes, clutter of books, so you need to write books. If you have not written books and you write book, they will not give you the mark. They are going to cancel that answer because they want you to give the answer in plural, because the speaker give the answer in plural. So make sure that you are paying attention, you are vigilant to answer, to listen the answer if it's in plural. Now there are repeated answers. For example, you have listened a clip where two ladies are discussing for a catch up or a meetup, and the first lady said, okay, it's been quite long, we have not met, so let's meet tomorrow at the in a nearby restaurant at 7 p.m. And she said, oh, okay, fine, let's meet together. And then all of a sudden you were, no, I'm not going to come at 7 p.m. because I have some important work to do at 7 p.m. Let me see my calendar if there is another availability. Then she said, okay, come and let's meet at 9 p.m. Now the other lady said, I have to go at 9, but what about if we meet at 8:30? And then the lady on the other side of the phone, she said, okay, fine. So now you have heard 7 p.m., 9 p.m., 8:30 p.m., and you will be confused what will be the answer. The answer where they both have agreed, it's 8:30 p.m. So there are repeated answer, and you need to vigilantly listen. This is the difference between hearing and listening, because in listening you are going to decode and encode the information you have received, you have perceived. So make sure you first hear the conversation correctly, then write down the answer. Don't try to hustle and write down the answer after the first words or information has been exchanged. Now there is a band criteria. If you have given the corrected answers from 18 to 22, you will get 5.5 bands. From 23 to 25, you will get 6 bands. From 26 to 29, you will get 6.5 bands. 30 to 31, 7, and so on. And if you give the answers corrected, that from the range of 37 to 38, so it's going to be 8.5 bands. So make sure that you are well prepared. If you are not getting 34 above marks in the mock test, do not register yourself. I always say, do not register yourself if you are not getting 7+ bands in the mock test. First, appear in the mock test, whether it's in the AEO or British Council, because if you are not getting 7+ band, there are chances that the bands are going to be more reduced in the actual exam. Now, the last module, which is the IELTS reading task, one of the most complex tasks. You will be having 1 hour to complete this task. Reading passages would be different for academic and journal IELTS. Overall, the criteria of marking would be the same. The types of question would be the same, but the passages detail would be different. There are 3 sections in both academic and journal IELTS. Each passage will having allocated 20 minutes to complete. So if you sum up, if you gather the time, so it's going to be 1 hour for 3 passages. Total question you will be having are 40. Each section may have 13 to 14. If section 1 has 14 question, then the remaining 2 section will have 13 question. Now, the passage would be covered from the descriptive studies, which is retrospective studies, long research studies, factual studies, books, magazines or newspaper in the academic reading IELTS. If it's journal IELTS passages, I think the journal IELTS passages are not as complex as the academic. It would be covered from books, newspaper, notice, and from the advertisements. Advertisements are not included. It's totally excluded out from the academic IELTS. The reading module have different types of question, multiple choice question, sentence completion, summary writing, matching information, short question answers, true, false, not given, diagrams. Okay. One information which I want to give you, in the IELTS exam, when you have reading and the listening task, maybe they are going to restrict you. Don't write more than 2 words or then slash number. So you do not need to exceed the length of the answer more than 2 words. If you have written the answer in 3 words, as they have restricted you, and the first 2 words are correct, they are totally corrected. But as you have written an additional or extra word, they are going to cancel that because they have restricted you. So make sure what they have said in the question, you need to follow such. And one more thing in the listening and reading, sentence completion. Sentence completion is important. If there is a question, you heard a clip where 2 ladies have discussed to meet tomorrow at a restaurant. So if they have asked you a single question that where they have decided and they have given 4 options: restaurant, club, park, or hospital. Now you need to write the answer restaurant. If it's a sentence completion and the question is they agreed to meet dash, now you need to write the sentence completion. So you will write with the help of the preposition at the restaurant. At the restaurant. If you only write restaurant, so it's going to be marked as an it's going to have a negative marking. You won't be able to get the marks for this. Some common tips before we are going to wind up this session. You need to get a command on your grammar. No punctuation mistake is acceptable. After the use of interjection, you need to put a comma. You need to put a comma where there is a period or a full stop is necessary. You need to write the full stop. No punctuation mistake is allowed at all. No spelling mistake is acceptable in IELTS. They have nothing to do with your profession. If you're saying I'm from the medical field, I can have some spelling issues. They have nothing to do. They want you to give the correct spelling. Copy pasting is nothing in IELTS exam. You will go nowhere if you are just copy pasting. You have given a question, you are just writing down in a same way. You need to paraphrase. You need to paraphrase in your own words, rewrite the certain information given in your own words. For example, the above information said a graph shows data. Now replace this shows when you are writing the introduction. The chart or the graph illustrate, demonstrate, represent. So there are variety of vocabularies which we are going to cover in the IELTS exam. And also learn different types of vocabularies. Don't try to use elementary school vocabularies. Don't say very painful. Very painful is excruciating. Very old is traditional or conventional. Very sad means distraught. Use distraught. Very upset is grave. miserable, compromising, very well dressed. No, very well dressed is called elegant. So try to use such vocabularies in order to gain more marks. Okay, for the reading, time management is important in reading. If you are going to read the whole passage, you will end it up in creating a mess. Make sure you are scanning and skimming. You are just searching for your keywords. You need to flick through. आपने सिर्फ नजरें दौड़ानी है, and you need to search for the keywords which are mentioned or which you have picked up from the questions. So by this, the more you are fast in scanning and skimming, the more chances you will get the answer as soon as possible. Okay, so for one question answer, you are allocated, I think, 40 seconds. 40 seconds for one answer. And pay attention on pronunciation and accent, because we are so poor in pronunciation. They are not saying to adapt an American accent. They only want you to give the answer in the accent which is acceptable. Don't use the typical accent. स्क्रीन को स्क्रीन नहीं कहना है, स्कूल को स्कूल नहीं कहना है, जो सामने वाला एक्सेप्ट ना कर सके. यू नीड टू फॉलो एक्सेप्टेबल एक्सेंट, और जो सामने वाले को समझ में आए. Okay, and if you are using jargons in this speaking, you need to elaborate. Okay, because maybe you are familiar with the jargon, you think the examiner will get the point which you are trying to say, but maybe she is not native, she is not going to understand. So you need to elaborate the jargon. For example, she asks you what type of transport you use on daily basis, and you are saying I use rickshaw, and she doesn't have any idea, she is not familiar with rickshaw. So you need to elaborate if you are using rickshaw, because rickshaw is a jargon. You will say it's a three-wheeled vehicle, and it's popular in the Asian countries, and it's more accessible, and it will be available in affordable fares. So I usually travel via rickshaw and also via public buses in my country. So this is how you are going to give your answer. Okay, and if in the speaking test you didn't get the question which she has given you, doesn't matter. You can ask to repeat the question in a more humble way rather than saying sorry, no. Say, pardon me, can I get the question back? Can you repeat the question? This is how you are going to ask the question again, and she is going to ask the question again without any negative marking. So this is how you are going to prepare yourself. So these are some demos. Now you have the idea how you are going to prepare yourself. Some of us are fast learners, some of us are slow learner. It may take time to prepare well before appearing in the IELTS exam. So mock tests are going to help you out. There are certain websites where you can give the speaking simulator test, and they are going to give you the answer on the same time. So this is the introduction of the IELTS exam. Thank you so much for your attention and for your time. If you have any query, you want to ask anything, you can ask, but please raise your hand. One second. Okay. Sumaya.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। सर मेरे ना तीन सवाल हैं। एक तो ये कि आइल्स जो है वो राइटिंग आइल्स में प्रेफर करोगी या कंप्यूटर बेस्ड आइल्स? रिटन मतलब पेपर बेस्ड आइल्स ज्यादा बेहतर रहता है या कंप्यूटर बेस्ड आइल्स ज्यादा बेहतर रहता है? और उसमें अगर हम रीडिंग का पैसेज जो है देखें तो कंप्यूटर बेस्ड पे हमें मुश्किल होगी, मतलब रीडिंग में तो हम जल्दी जल्दी से आंसर देख के और डायरेक्ट अपने क्वेश्चंस के ऊपर ध्यान देते हैं, तो इस कंप्यूटर बेस्ड से हम लोग
मतलब
कम कर
स्किमिंग
सकेंगे।
टेक्निक जो है वो एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगी कंप्यूटर बेस्ड में।
देखिए, कंप्यूटर पे भी आप स्किमिंग कर सकते हैं। कंप्यूटर बेस इज बेसिकली फॉर दोज हु हैव राइटिंग इश्यूज, उनकी राइटिंग एलिजिबल नहीं होती है, बिल्कुल रीडेबल नहीं होती है, तो वो लोग कंप्यूटर बेस पे जाते हैं। ऑल्सो जिनको बहुत शॉर्ट टाइम होता है एंड दे नीड टू गेट द रिजल्ट फास्ट, क्योंकि कंप्यूटर बेस में क्या होता है कि 3 से 5 दिन के अंदर रिजल्ट आ जाता है। फॉर दी पेपर बेस यू नीड टू वेट फॉर 10 to 15 days, तो वो लोग कंप्यूटर बेस की तरफ जाते हैं। ऑल्सो इफ यू हैव अ गुड टाइपिंग स्पीड, so you can go for the computer based, but I prefer to go for the paper based IELTS. It's more easy because we are familiar with the writing technique on the paper, and I think it's more convenient, more feasible for a student to go for the paper based IELTS, क्योंकि हमने इतने पेपर बेस दिए हैं कि हमारे लिए इतना मुश्किल नहीं है।
सही। और दूसरा ये पूछना था कि लेटर्स का जो बताया अभी कि 3 टाइप्स ऑफ लेटर्स होते हैं, तो हमें क्या तीन लेटर लिखने के लिए आता है या एक ही लेटर लिखने के लिए आता है?
अच्छा, लेटर एक ही आता है। इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द टाइप ऑफ लेटर। वहां पे कहीं नहीं लिखा होगा कि ये लेटर सेमी फॉर्मल लेटर है, फॉर्मल लेटर है, या ये जो लेटर है ये लेटर वो है informal letter. You need to judge by the statement and by the scenario they have shared. ओके तो आपने उससे पिक करना है कि ये जो मेरे पास लेटर आया है ये कौन सा लेटर है, एंड देन यू नीड टू राइट डाउन बाय फॉलोइंग द फॉर्मेट। फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ यू राइट अ इनफॉर्मल लेटर, योर वोकैबुलरी कैन बी अ एलिमेंट्री स्कूल लेवल। सही है, वो आप जहाँ पे हेल्प लिखना है आप हेल्प लिख सकते हैं, आस्क लिखना है आस्क लिख सकते हैं, whole I am waiting you waited for you wholeheartedly, आप ये लिख सकते हैं। बट व्हेन यू आर राइटिंग द फॉर्मल लेटर यू नीड टू एक्सप्रेस द ग्रेटिट्यूड, so and you need to be sound humble, so you can write in a more appropriate way by selecting the definite vocabulary. For example, you are going to replace help with the guidance. Sir, I am looking forward for your guidance. We are waiting for you, so you are going to write the entire fraternity is waiting for you to come and join us, and you are going to replace certain vocabularies. If you are going to write in informal letter, I have bought a car, so you cannot use bought in informal letter. You are going to replace bought by purchase in the formal letter. So there are certain techniques how you are going to increase your banks. तो एक ही आपके पास लेटर आएगा। अगर आप एकेडमिक के हैं तो कोई एक ही आपके पास इन्फोग्राफिक इंफॉर्मेशन आएगी, या तो मैप आएगा या तो पिक्चर आएगी। बट होता क्या है, कभी कभी कोलैबोरेशन में भी आता है। कोलैबोरेशन से मुराद है कि एक सर्टेन सिनेरियो है, उसकी इंफॉर्मेशन आपको नंबर चार्ट में भी दी हुई है, और उसी का ही आपको जो परसेंटेजेस है वो नीचे पाई चार्ट में दिया है। नाउ यू हैव to write the introduction, overview and the conclusion by following both the maps. आपको दोनों मैप्स की इंफॉर्मेशन को फॉलो करना है, तो उसका जो है ना ट्रिक होती है कि आप कैसे फॉलो करेंगे ना, उसकी गाइडेंस होती है। बट यू नीड टू फॉलो बोथ दी मैप्स एट आर टाइम, कि इंट्रोडक्शन में भी दोनों को आप बताइए, फिर ओवरव्यू में बताइए जहाँ पे आप स्पेसिफिक फीचर्स बताएंगे, देन आप एक पैराग्राफ एक चार्ट के लिए एलोकेट कर दें, देन लास्ट पैरा एक चार्ट के लिए एलोकेट कर दें, तो कोई एक ही आपके पास चार्ट आएगा। उसके बाद जब आप ऐसे पे जाते हैं ना तो कोई एक ऐसे आएगा। अच्छा, ऐसे में कहीं नहीं लिखा होगा कि ये कॉज प्रॉब्लम सोल्यूशन ऐसे है, या जो है ये डिस्कशन ऐसे है, या ये डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन। यू नीड टू जज बाय द इंफॉर्मेशन has been given. For example, if there is a point where they say, do you agree or do you disagree, so it's mean it's an opinion essay. If it's written outweigh, so outweigh is called advantage and disadvantage essay. So you need to judge what type of essay you have received and now how you write. So there are certain formulas and plans and templates. By following such templates you can make a good hook sentence. Hook sentence is called the introduction in the IELTS essay, and you can uplift the band. Lexical resources are so important in the essay. Lexical resources mean the right choice of word at the right time. आप कौन से वक्त पे क्या वर्ड लिख रहे हैं, that has to make a sense. And the linkers, आप लिंकर्स जो यूज कर रहे हैं वो सही हो। जहां आपने हाईलाइट और स्ट्रेस करना है आप वहां पे पर्टिकुलरली, स्पेशली, स्पेसिफिकली ये सब लिखेंगे। अगर जहाँ पे आपने कॉन्ट्रेरी यानी कंट्रास्ट शो करनी है तो आप ऑन दी अदर हैंड लिखेंगे, या ऑन दी कॉन्ट्रेरी लिखेंगे, ऑन दी अदर साइड ऑफ द पिक्चर लिखेंगे, इस तरह से लिखेंगे। अगर आपने लिस्टिंग करनी है एट द बिगनिंग, सेकेंडली, एडिशनली, मोर ओवर, फर्दर मोर, इस तरह से लिखेंगे। सो लिस्ट जो लिंकर्स है ना वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, लेक्सिकल रिसोर्सेज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, वोकैबलरीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आपके पास आता है कोई ऐसा ऐसे जिस पे आपको कुछ भी आइडिया ना हो कि मुझे लिखना क्या है, तो भी आप एक अच्छा ऐसे लिख सकते हैं बाय फॉलोइंग दी जर्नल इन्फॉर्मेशन। कुछ भी जर्नल इन्फॉर्मेशन तो होगी, क्योंकि कभी भी ना कोई ऐसा ऐसे नहीं आता है जहाँ पे आपको पर्टिकुलरली किसी एक ही रीजन के बारे में बात की जा रही है। इट्स ग्लोबली एक्सेप्टेबल इशू, किसी भी ग्लोबल इशू के ऊपर, या ऐसी जो चीज वर्ल्ड वाइड हो रही है उसके ऊपर बात की जाती है। जैसे इस वक्त अभी एक ऐसे आया था, पिछले महीने एक स्टूडेंट ने मुझे बताया था, उसने एईओ पाकिस्तान से दिया था, नोज जॉब पे आया था कि आजकल ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग नोज जॉब करवा रहे हैं। तो नोज जॉब कॉस्मेटिक सर्जरी है, इट्स अ एस्थेटिक प्रोसीजर टू करेक्ट द फीचर्स, योर फेशियल फीचर्स और द शेप ऑफ योर नोज, इट्स नोन एज सेप्टोप्लास्टी। तो बहुत करा रहे हैं, तो क्यों है? तो ये जो रुझान है, अगर देखा जाए तो ये साउथ कोरिया से आया, जहाँ पे हर दूसरे बंदे की प्लास्टिक सर्जरी हो रही है टू गेट समथिंग विच गॉड हैज नॉट गिवन यू। बट देयर आर सीरियस कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज, बिकॉज देयर आर सर्टेन सर्जन्स हु आर फ्रॉम द ब्लैक मार्केट एसोसिएटेड इन दिस फील्ड। सो बहुत बुरे बुरे जो है वो इसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज भी होते हैं। आप कुछ भी लिख सकते हो, आपके पास नॉलेज होनी चाहिए और आपके पास टेम्पलेट अच्छा होना चाहिए।
ओके, वन फाइनल क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम माय साइड।
श्योर।
इसके अंदर ग्रामेटिकल मिस्टेक्स होती हैं यूजुअली, जो हमारे पास
हम्म।
कॉमन मिस्टेक होती हैं, उसको हम किस तरह से गो थ्रू कर सकते हैं, या उसके रूल्स, जो ग्रामेटिकल रूल्स है, हमें सारे रूल्स को रिवाइज करना होगा? इसकी कोई गाइडलाइन अगर हमें मिल सके,
हम्म।
क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं बीच में हम कहीं लाइक कर जाते हैं।
हाँ,
सो वो एक ओवरऑल जो है वो चीजें जो है वो एक फ्रेम में फिट नहीं हुई हुई, तो उसको किस तरीके से हम मैप कर सकते हैं?
अच्छा, there are a number of websites, and there are number of videos available on YouTube. ट्राई टू मेक कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंसेस। आप कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस बनाने की ना प्रैक्टिस शुरू करें। तो कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंसेस में जाहिर सी बात है आपके सारे पार्ट्स ऑफ स्पीच कवर हो जाते हैं विद पंक्चुएशन। पंक्चुएशन बहुत बहुत अहम है। एन डैश एम डैश का फर्क, एम्परसेंट क्या है, और हाइफन क्या है, फॉरवर्ड स्लैश, बैकवर्ड स्लैश क्या है, कहाँ पे कॉलन आना है, कहाँ पे सेमी कॉलन आना है, ये सब पहचाने। दूसरा, हम ना प्रपोजिशन में बहुत खराब है, हमें नहीं पता एट कहाँ आना है, ऑन कहाँ आना है, इन कहाँ आना है, टाइम फ्रेम की बात हो रही है तो कहाँ आना है, सिंस और फॉर का फर्क नहीं पता। ये कुछ चीजें हैं जो आपने खुद से करनी है, क्योंकि आपको, अगर आप कोई अकेडमी ज्वाइन करें, कुछ भी करें, आपको ना ये बेसिक गाइडेंस आइल्स में तो कोई नहीं देगा।